Hello, good morning. Ian Summerall, Country Sports TV and keen pigeon shooter. I've just been out this morning to check the rape. Last week the pigeons were starting to come in on it. The pests, little bug that's eating the rape, has had a go at it here in Somerset. And the farmer, I've had a chat with the farmer and said, look, I'll come down and shoot some pigeons as soon as we can. If they start really going in at it, we'll come down and do some decoying. I've been down this morning, not a pigeon anywhere. Oh, they've banned pigeon shooting. I was going to use Section 4 of the Countryside and Wildlife Act with the advice of English Nature as I was protecting crops, and I was going to go pigeon shooting. No, I can't do it. No pigeons. So my shooting today has been curtailed. So we're back on giving you advice on what to do. The best advice that I have at the moment. Now, what we got to remember is that to shoot pigeons we use the general license, and the other two videos have all been into the wheres and why for, and it used to be a common law and it now isn't, because it's now something that we're allowed to do. They allow us to do it. Well, if they now allow us to do it, they can take it away, which they have. And it's causing all sorts of trouble. But it's also causing trouble to professional pest controllers who control feral pigeons in workplaces and stadiums. You know, it's not only just the pigeon shooter that's being affected by this. So, we are told that the organisations met with the government to try and resolve this last week. What's happened, we don't know. We're waiting to find out. But you can go on the BASC, NGO, Countryside Alliance websites to find out. All we're left with at the moment is we've got to go back to the good old days. If you want to protect your crops, you're going to have to hire a little boy like they used to and go around the field with a little football rattle to scare the birds off. Yes, that's the only thing left, is to employ a little boy to go around the field like they used to in the old days and scare the pigeons off with a rattle, in the days before we had shotguns. So this would be, Middle Ages, going up to about 1700 maybe. Yeah, they used to go round the field with a rattle to scare the birds off. Well, what pigeon shooter in his right mind is going to be seen walking round the field with a football rattle? Oh, it's crazy, isn't it? If you've got a 10-15 acre field and you start walking round, you get down to one end and the pigeons will go up the other end. You go rattle, 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 you walk round. The farmers aren't going to pay you to do it. We volunteer to do pest control. I know there's professional pigeon shooters out there, but they're normally on big estates and big farms that can afford to pay a pigeon shooter to shoot pigeons, and they do a marvellous job. The majority of pigeons and crows that are culled are done by, I don't want to use the word amateur, but they're volunteers, and we volunteer our time because we enjoy pigeon shooting. It's a skill we have, it's something we can do, and we give our time to the farmer, and the farmer allows us to shoot because he wants the pigeons off his crops. That's the relationship we have. Now it's been totally destroyed because they removed the general license. What are farmers going to do? Get gas guns out all over the countryside, all over the summer? Oh, the locals are going to love that. The locals don't mind us shooting for 3 or 4 hours on a field in the daytime and then going home. They don't want a gas gun going off every 20 minutes 24/7, because that's what's going to happen. Then the farmers are going to be in trouble for causing a noise. It's opened a can of worms, I tell you. It's absolutely ridiculous. The answer is simple. My answer is simple. They won't do it because they're politicians and they don't do things that are simple. Go back to what works. We had the Countryside Act 1968 and we had a list of Schedule 2 birds. These birds were birds that could be shot at any time. Pigeons, crows, magpies, etc. Now, as time circumstances change, you can take birds on and off of that list. But when they brought in the Bird Directive in 1981, all birds were protected. To allow us to shoot pigeons and crows, they brought in the general licence. From a right to control vermin, pests, birds, species, birds, pigeons, crows, magpies. It's now become a privilege. You've been given a licence, and as we've seen, if you're given a licence to do something, they can take it away. In standard common law, British law, you're allowed to do something as long as it's not prohibited. That's basic common law, how it works. So what they've done is they've prohibited the shooting of wild birds and then given you a licence to allow you to do it. As we've seen, they've now taken that licence away and it's now become illegal to shoot pigeons. But Natural England, as I said at the beginning, said that we could use Section 4 of the Countryside and Wildlife Act 1981, which allows you to shoot birds damaging crops and livestock. But the shooting organisations, their advice is not to rely on it. So what do? You're left in limbo land. You've got Natural England on one hand saying you can use it, and you've got the shooting organisations on the other hand saying you cannot. I'm not a lawyer. I can't say this is the law, this is what you've got to do. I can only give you my advice and how I see it. Now, the government talk to the British Shooting Sports Council. All the shooting organisations are on it. And when the shooting organisations talk to the government, they're normally talking to the government as the British Shooting Sports Council. But you will find that the organisations, when they relay the information to you, use their PR department and they will say, we are talking to government. We talk to it for our members. So be careful. When a shooting organisation says, we have been talking to government, it may have been on behalf of all the organisations through the British Shooting Sports Council. Now, I first came across this when I was working in George Gibbs in Bristol. I had a workshop upstairs and I'd help out in the shop. And they wanted to bring in a new black powder licence and explosive licences, and they were changing them. And I was working with the British Field Sports Society as it was then. And their solicitor asked me to write a paper on why I use black powder, how I use it, how I store it. I wrote a 3-page, not really a letter, but an explanation of how we use black powder, why we want to use it, and why we want to retain it. That was taken to the British Shooting Sports Council. That was taken up by the British Shooting Sports Council and presented to the government. 3 or 4 months later, after it had all been sorted out and the new explosive licenses had come through, I find that it was BASC that negotiated the new explosive license for black powder with the government. I wrote the paper on it. I knew exactly what it said. That was my first hint of how things are manipulated, changed, altered. But anyway, that was long gone. That's in the past. Let's get back. Right. The Natural England have put a statement on their website. Now, I'm not going to read it out in my West Country accent. What we need is somebody with a BBC announcer's voice so that it is clear and we can all understand it. Pat, can you come and read this letter, please? Here's the letter.
General licenses and the next steps. Position statement. Natural England. There has been a large amount of media coverage and interest in the decision to revoke 3 general licenses, GL 04, 05, 06. These cover 16 species of bird, including several members of the crow family, Canada geese, some gulls, feral and wood pigeons. Natural England announced on Tuesday the 23rd of April that licenses will be revoked at 11:59 p.m. on Thursday 25th of April. We did not take this decision lightly. However, in light of the legal challenge by Wild Justice, Natural England concluded that the licenses were not issued in accordance with the requirements of the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981. Unfortunately, this conclusion, which was based on legal advice, left us with no choice but to revoke these licenses. This note therefore sets out options that are now available to people who have previously used these licenses to prevent serious damage and disease, to conserve wild birds, wild flora and fauna, or to protect public health and safety. Please be assured that controls can still be carried out lawfully. There is no ban to shooting these named wild birds, nor will people be breaking the law if they follow one of these routes. Option 1. New licenses are due to go live on gov.uk from the 26th of April and over the following days. These will cover the majority of circumstances previously covered by the revoked licenses. To ensure landowners can continue to take necessary action whilst also taking into account the needs of wildlife, we enclose an indicative timetable for the new licenses at the end of this note. If you are able to wait until the license you need becomes available, you can rely on this and need to take no further action if you're satisfied that it covers your circumstances. Option 2. Anybody who needs to act within the law to control wild birds before the licence they need is ready can rely on a simple online application system for individual licences. This went live on Thursday evening, the 25th of April. Option 3. If you need to take urgent action before you receive a new licence, you can do so in some circumstances. With regards to serious damage to crops and livestock, you will need to use a notification system. You will be told how to do this in response to your licence application. The diagram below presents the various options open to users. The question and answer also below gives more information to help you decide on the best course of action. Please refer to gov.uk for the relevant licenses and applications. If this does not answer your questions, you may contact our General Inquiries line on 0300 060 3900 or inquiries@naturalengland.org.uk. and our staff will do all they can to assist you. Natural England recognises that this change will cause disruption for people who make use of these licences, but is working hard to ensure that it is kept to a minimum. Looking ahead, we want to make sure our licensing system is robust and proportionate, taking into account the needs of wildlife and people, and we shall bring forward a planned review of the general licensing system later this year, once we have implemented these interim measures. We will consult widely and fully with all those with an interest in this subject as part of this review.
Thank you, Pat. Now that makes everything clear, doesn't it? I won't put the flowchart on here. What I'll do is, if you go onto the Facebook page, the Country Sports TV Facebook page, I'll put the PDF of the document on there and you can read it. You can get it online. The thing is, they say that they've got the application forms online. The odd thing is that the letter is a standard PDF and I can read it. The applications underneath, we think, are Adobe Reader Pro, which I have not got, so I cannot read them. So that restricts the number of people that can apply for licenses. So if you want Adobe Pro, you've got to pay for it. So once again, it's only the rich and the elite that are going to end up pigeon shooting. Oh, you can't make this up, mate. This is terrible. This shouldn't be. It's the ordinary man that's suffering. A lot of us aren't members of organisations. A lot of us are on our own. We just do our own thing. We just get on with life. Now we find we're being interfered with by animal rights activists and the government. We don't want you involved in our lives. Just allow us to do what we had a common law right to do. That's to shoot pests and control them on the farms where we've got permission to shoot. We don't want you interfering in our lives. Put back Schedule 2 list on the Wildlife and Countryside Act, put it back on 1981. Then we all know where we stand and you can get out of our lives. Anyway, Ian, very, very frustrated pigeon shooter, saying, please take care, read the information, find out as much as you can before you go shooting. I don't want anybody to get into any trouble. Anyway, goodbye. This is the best advice we have up to date. And don't worry, I expect next week it'll change again.